Hi everyone, we're back again. So today is March 19th. It's a big day, a big week in our house. We have a lot of anniversaries and birthdays coming up this week. So some of them are good, some of them are bad. But hi Candace, nice of you to join us today. How's the weather up your way? You were stuck in the mud and flooding and everything. I saw earlier on Facebook, and I saw the ruts, and I was laughing at the one where you put up that said we measure our ruts by chihuahuas. That was really funny. I thought that was funny because we kind of do the same thing here, right? Hi Sandra, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate that. It's around noon, I think, in California, where you're coming from. So you are probably eating your lunch as we are having our tea. So have a good lunch if you are. I hope that you're feeling a little bit better. I know you were under the weather earlier. You were talking about it last week. And yes, Candace, we've got a lot of sunshine today and some fabulous temperatures coming. So that's really a good sign, right? Because tomorrow is spring. So at, I think it's 2 minutes to 6, 5:58, I believe they said. And we will be jumping into spring. And how cool is that? For those of us that changed our clocks last week, it was funny. I have a girlfriend in Mexico, and they don't change their clocks until April. And so she was catching the news, and they're an hour difference with us, right? And she was catching the news. And now that we changed our clocks, she was on Facebook saying, why the hell are they putting the news on at 7 o'clock, right? When it actually should have been 6 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock. And why are they putting the news on at 8 o'clock when it should have been 6 o'clock? So that was pretty funny because it took us a while to figure out what was going on there, right? Apparently everybody does not change the clocks when we do, and I thought we were all in sync there, right? But apparently they said that everybody doesn't change the clocks. So Mexico does not change the clocks until April, and so it gives her a 2-hour difference, right? Which is pretty cool. So yes, we are embarking on spring tomorrow. Very, very exciting. Daylight savings time has happened, so we have sprung forward, and we have our extra hour a day, and I'm absolutely loving it. I really, really like it. Hi, Jackie. Nice of you to join us today. I'm pretty excited to see you here. So, yeah. So, a couple of weeks ago, I started putting up a blog that said singing for your breath, right? And a couple of people, hi, Barbara. A couple of people have said to me, how can you sing? How can you even talk about singing when you have COPD? So does anybody out there sing? It's a really, really good thing, they tell me, for your lungs and to expand your lungs. We know that with COPD, we are suffering constantly from shortness of breath. And many of us are under the impression that it is because we cannot get air in. That's actually a myth. The problem with that for us is that we can't get air out. Therefore, there's no room for the new air to go in. Most of us who have done our studying and have talked to doctors, and if you have a good doctor, they will have explained this to you, that the reason why we can't get any breath in is because we can't get any breath out. So that stale air that sits in there is full of carbon dioxide, and that's the really bad stuff. We've got to get it out. And so one of the best ways that we can get that out is through singing. So I had a meme that I did up, and I was talking about, because we talked about it last month at our group, about how we would like to do some singing. And one of the instruments that they suggest that you use is a harmonica. So I looked at harmonicas, and you can buy them on Amazon. I know a lot of you are Amazon shoppers, right? But I know that also that in the States, Walmart's really big, and I think we have Walmarts everywhere, right? So harmonicas start as low as $7. Now, you're probably not going to get the best quality harmonica here, but you got to put it into perspective, right? About whether or not you're going to really master the harmonica. And that's not exactly the point of it. The point of it is to get the blowing and get the air moving, right? So we've got to get some air out of our lungs. And, well, Candace, you know, we can't all sing, and I get that. And I get that the family will request you to stop singing, but, you know, find yourself some time when nobody's home. I'm very lucky because I've only got 2 people living with me now. Or I'm living with them, or I don't know, we're all living together. And I used to have so many people in this house that, honest to God, my husband and I think it was our 35th anniversary, we were alone for an actual 20 minutes. And that was the first time in our marriage, I think, that we were alone. So it's you know, it's very nice because I get some time alone. And so I do have time when I can practice my harmonica and there's nobody in the house. And I can sing as loud as I like. And I think I talked a little while earlier about our Google Home Mini. I don't get anything for this, but I'm just saying, like, my son bought us one for Christmas, a Google Home Mini Home or Home Mini. And we've been singing our little hearts out since we've had it, right? It's absolutely fabulous. We get rid of the TV, turn off the TV, get off of our tablets. And we got Spotify accounts, and you can get an account for the family for $15. So everybody in my house, well, there's 3 of us, right, are on our family plan, and we're all getting our playlist done, right? So when nobody's home at night, I turn it up really loud. I turn off the TV and I turn it up really loud, and I just sing my little heart out. And it just, you know what? It's fun. It passes the time. You can't help but feel good when you're singing. So, you know what? I think that we should. I think that we should start doing some harmonica maybe on tea times. I don't know. We'll see. But it would be a great. It would be a great topic when we do our group. Okay. So speaking of the group, I'm still looking. I'm very, very busy now because, you know, I am a bookkeeper and an accountant, and I do taxes at year end, right? So these people, I don't know, they're coming out of the woodwork. I really don't like doing taxes, but I do them anyways. So I do small business and I do some personal taxes, and I'm really, really busy. Our tax season ends April 30th. So I'm kind of busy, and I keep looking at this stuff going, it's getting in the way of everything, right? But I am still researching. I'm researching platforms to use. I'm not really finding too much that's really like hugely interactive, right? But what we would have would be a chat room, and I thought maybe we'd, I don't know, get some structure going in it, right? So I'm still looking for the perfect one. I just haven't had a lot of time, but I am still working on that. So when we get our group going, we will make harmonica or singing one of the topics, right? So that'll be absolutely great, and then we'll get everybody to try it, right? So I got my harmonica at Walmart for $7. I think I already said that. And Amazon, you know, they're easy to get at Amazon and everything too, right? So that'll be fun, right? So, Candace, you're talking about whistling, right? So I am the only one in my family who can whistle. So when my grandson comes over, I whistle with him, right? And he thinks it's the funniest thing he ever heard because his mom and dad can't do it, right? My husband can't whistle either, and neither can my boys. So that is pretty cool. So whistle, yeah, that's really good. It takes a lot of breath. It really does take a lot of breath. But, you know, these are all exercises that you can be doing without actually straining yourself about exercises. These are fun exercises, right? So I don't know what Carol and Sandra think about them, but I think that they're absolutely fabulous. And I think Noah does some of it too, right? I got to get back in touch with him and get back into his exercise program because I kind of dropped out there. I had a couple of things going on and it just distracted the heck out of me. So We will be springing forward tomorrow. And March 20th is a very sad day for us. It is the anniversary of a person that I considered my son, and he was killed by a drunk driver, and tomorrow is his anniversary. So it's a sad kind of a day for us. And you'll see me posting tomorrow all over Facebook and everything. He was a beautiful person. He was an absolutely fabulous person. But he was beautiful inside and out. So you'll see the pictures tomorrow. So tomorrow's a very sad day, but Friday is my grandson's birthday, and he's 1 year old, and I can't believe that a whole year has passed. Those of you that have grandchildren or young kids in your life, it's phenomenal how fast these years pass, right? And looking at our own mortality now, you know, I'm thinking like, slow down, slow down, slow down. I haven't had enough of you. My daughter was so good to me. She brought him over every second day. Every second day since he's been born, she has brought him over to spend some time with me. And I am absolutely and totally so grateful for her for doing that, because we now have such a huge bond, right? And it's going to get better. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that. It's going to get better because I think my husband and I are going to take him 1 or 2 days a week, right? So then we come to the, you know, the part about where he has a cold today. And, you know, I'm kind of torn. I feel bad that he's at the babysitter's. I wish that we could have taken him, but then I can't take him when he has a cold. And if he's in daycare a couple of days a week, I might not be able to take him because he might be just sick all the time. But we'll see anyways. So last week I had a really good response to my blog post, my exacerbation and getting past it a little bit. I had a really good response to it. I was really, really happy. Thank you, everybody who read it. Tomorrow I am talking about mindful recovery. And it says from exacerbation, but it's not just exacerbation. Oh, Candace, I agree with you. They grow up way too fast. I just haven't had enough of them, right? And I had them every second day, and I still haven't had enough of them. So tomorrow we're going to talk about mindful recovery from exacerbation, but also from instances of shortness of breath and coughing and not being able to control, you know, how your lungs are acting and that, right? So I'm going to do a couple of posts this month on mindfulness. So I'm looking forward to your response to that, and see if, you know, people, when I'm interested in getting readers for my blog and capturing it all with your email addresses and doing a newsletter, right? So I'm going to have a contest. I'm going to have 2 cups. 2 of my cups will be up for a draw. And we will do this the end of June, which is my anniversary. So it'll be 2 years this year. Catch your breath. My plans going forward are my videos for the journals, the journal, Health Tracker Journal is going on YouTube, and it'll be going on sometime this week. I hope that I get them on sometime this week. So that'll give you a little bit more accessibility to them if anybody wants to reread them, or and I hope to get them cleaned up a little bit. I want to get this support group going. So I'm hoping to move more towards YouTube in the future. And so I'm going to give away a couple of my cups because a couple of people said that they really liked it, and so I'm going to do that. But in order to get my cup and to be in the contest, you must sign up to my newsletter at Catch Your Breath 60. So anytime that you're in there, you can sign up to the newsletter. If you go in cold, like, you get newsletters all over the place, right? So I'm hoping to increase my email readership, and hoping to get more people to kind of, you know, get into it, so that when I get special things that I want to send out to just, you know, you people that are really close to me, then I really, I have your email address already, and I can send it out and put it in all into categories and everything, right? So that will be coming the end of June. So if you want a cup, if you want a Catch Your Breath 60 cup and a couple of other things that I have to go with it, you have to sign up for my newsletter. So that shouldn't be a problem, right? So what other comments have we got going on? Mindful recovery sounds mysterious, eh? Well, Candace, it's not really mysterious. It is actually a way to control what is happening to you, how to take control and stay in the moment, and only consider the thoughts in your mind that you are interested in hearing. And it is a way of controlling ourselves so that we can bring we have our power back. And that's the whole idea of mindfulness, is getting our power back, right? We are suffering from a horrible disease, and everybody has, most of you have COPD or some kind of a lung impediment. There's an awful lot of other chronic illnesses out there, right? And we're not unique in this, that we have to learn how to control it, because if we are only suffering from COPD, we're very lucky, because there's people out there who have other things like diabetes and liver and kidney disease or cancer or other stuff, right? So when you start adding all of that stuff on, it's a lot to take in. And if you're going to live your life being anxious and afraid of it, then it's not going to be a very good life. And keep in mind that Jean Walters, thank you for joining us today. This is your first day, I believe. If this is what you have to do to live, then this is what we have to do. But what we want to do is we want to control it, and we want to take control over the thoughts that enter our mind, and that's called mindfulness. So we'll have some more on that tomorrow, and the second part. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about the techniques of mindfulness, and it's really, really hard sometimes to get your head around it, to know what it is and everything, right? But I went to the doctors this morning and I did use mindfulness, and I thought, why am I not using this all the time? Like, why am I letting anxiety take over my brain when I know that I can control these things? And so that's what I did this morning, and I am very, very happy about it. Yes, congestive heart failure. I talked about that. I don't know, Jackie, if you saw my articles throughout February, which was Heart Month, and I talked a little bit about heart failure. I have some right-sided heart failure. And the problem with any kind of heart failure is that it mimics the same symptoms as what COPD is. So often our doctors don't know that we are actually in heart failure unless they are looking for the proper tests, unless you have the proper test done, right? So I did, and I was lucky that I had very minimal damage to the right side of my heart. But the fact that it's there is disturbing, and it's there because of the COPD. Mine was caused from COPD. But there is a lot of people out there who, if they had cancer treatment earlier in their life, they've ended up with some kind of heart failure, heart problems and stuff like that, right? So a lot of us aren't just suffering from COPD, and I was pretty surprised to hear this. I've got my mindset on COPD, and I'm thinking, this is so much to carry. And then you find out that there's so many people out there who have COPD plus this and plus that and plus the other thing, right? And so my heart goes out to them. But the way that we have to handle these situations, and we are lucky that we are living and breathing, but we have to handle these situations and try to alleviate as much anxiety as we can. So that's mindfulness, right? Yesterday I was becoming so anxious, going to a new place in a city that I was not familiar with. That is the most horrible situation that you can be in. Going to a new place in a new city, you don't know where it is, you haven't prepared, you can't see it, you don't know where the parking is, you're not sure what's going to happen, right? I prepared as much as possible, and turned out it was pretty good driving along the road. Good for you. Good for you. It's an absolutely beautiful drive, isn't it, down in Ottawa there, right? But still, the temperatures are pretty cold in Ottawa still. And I understand how you feel about that. My daughter's pretty computer savvy, and I would say to her, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this mindfulness thing. I have to go to the doctors. I have to do this. And she would be very good at finding me event calendars, um, public calendars to tell you where the parking is, and she would explain to me where I was going by parking, where I would go into the doctors and that sort of thing, right? It's really, really hard to focus and to stay in the moment, but I hope I'm going to be able to talk you through some of that. It's really, really good to alleviate any kind of anxiety, right? We have to get through it. We don't have a choice. We have to get through it. So how we get through it is what we have to control. And if we can control how we get through it, then what happens is we've been through once. When it happens to us a second time, we look back at that experience and we go, well, wait a minute, I was here. I remember being here. I remember these techniques that I used, and that's what helps a lot of the time. Well, that and a handicap parking pass. I don't know what happens everywhere else. I know in Ontario, I applied for the pass. My doctor signed it, absolutely no problem, and it's in the car. So wherever, if that car is going and I'm in it, that parking pass is there. My family wouldn't think of using it unless I was there. You know, it's because it's kind of cheating. You know, you don't use it unless I'm there. But even with a parking pass, sometimes we went to the doctor's this morning, and they have about 10 to 12 parking spots, but all the parking spots were taken. So all the handicap parking spots were taken. And so they don't have enough of them, right? Because, in the mornings, us old people, we all go for our tests. And so everybody's out and driving around in the morning, and all the parking spots were filled, right? And it was all us old people getting our tests, right? So thank God, I wasn't doing the driving. Well, I don't drive anymore, so it's a good thing I don't do any driving, right? But my husband was there, and so he doesn't care where he parks, right? But that's the other thing too. That's the thing that can make you anxious, is thinking about going on a trip or going someplace and not knowing exactly where you are, what it looks like. Once you've been there a couple of times and once you've been around the block, you go, oh, I can handle this. This is no problem, right? But getting to a new doctor's or getting to a new building is one of those anxiety-provoking situations, right? And we got to learn to sing through that, right? Yeah, I agree with you, Carol. I think that, when you don't have something that they can physically see, it's really tough, right? It's hard for them to empathize with you because everybody kind of looks at it and goes, oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't look. Now, of course, when I'm going with my oxygen, I'm going with my walker, and I'm carrying it, my tank is in the, so it's a little bit more believable for me. But it shouldn't be that way, because we don't have the right to question whether or not somebody is disabled. Who the hell are you to ask me if I'm disabled? Like, honestly, stop and give your head a shake about this, right? Who are you to ask me if I'm disabled? You don't have the right to do that. Nobody has the right to do that to you. So accommodation should be open to anybody. And yes, there will be some people who take advantage of it. You can't help it. There will also be some people that if you had 100 spaces, they're going to use that space whether they have, the disabled person with them or not. So somebody's going to take advantage of it. But really, nobody has the right to question whether or not I'm disabled, right? But yes, it's hard. I know it's tough. Sometimes, even as I'm getting out of the car with my oxygen, until I pull out that walker, you're getting some funny looks. But anyways, I don't worry about that. I always figured this, okay? This was the thing that I always thought. And I think I learned this when I was teaching. It's none of my business what you think about me. It's none of my business. Why would I care what you think about me, right? So people will question you, but it's really none of your business. You should just ignore them and walk away. That's what I always do anyways. So new blog post out tomorrow. Spring is tomorrow. Very, very happy. I'm hoping that you guys are having as good a weather as we are. We are having really, really nice warm days. Now, that doesn't mean to say that the snow's all gone, but what we're hoping that it means is that the snow will be gone and there won't be any more to replace it. That's what we're keeping our fingers crossed about, right? So because my grandson's birthday is on Friday, I can remember what the weather was like this time last year. And this time last year it was a little bit warmer than it is now. So I can tell you that right now. There was no snow on the ground when we went down to the hospital to see him. So spring is around the corner. So blog posts for the rest of March are going to be mindfulness. And then I'm hoping to get into some spring projects. So I'd like to hear what you guys are doing. We'll talk about it maybe next week, what you're doing for spring projects. I am getting into gardening. That's what I'm doing this year. I'm getting into some gardening. Now, I might only be able to garden 1 or 2 potted containers, but I will at least do that, right? And we'll see if my husband's going to get into gardening this year, but I don't care anyway. So, Jackie, if you're talking about temperatures in the 70s, I'm really, really jealous because we are just above. Oh, we're at about 40 degrees, right, today, and we're loving it. We're absolutely loving it. We're going, well, we're Canadian too, right? So we go, who needs a coat? It's above zero. I almost went out this morning without my coat, but I needed it because I had a form I had to give the doctor that. So elevated gardens are absolutely the absolute and total best. Because I have these 2 dogs. Now, my daughter's dog and my dog act like absolute jerks when they're together. And they tear through the gardens and they don't care what's there. So elevated gardens are fabulous for that, right? Because the rabbits don't get in them to eat them. And the dogs don't get in them to pee in them. And the cats, well, they're gonna get in and dig in them anyways. But so I'm looking forward to hearing what your projects are for the spring. I am interested still in any comments. I haven't had any comments about the group and what you want it to look like and how it should be held. So let's talk some about the group and let's have a great week. And I'm looking forward to everybody being on. Oh, you have possums, Carol. We have possums too, but did you know that possums are actually very good to have around? They eat those beetles that aren't good, that, you know, the ones that get into the dog, what are they called, the ticks? They eat all the ticks and everything, and they eat all the mosquitoes and a lot of bugs. So possums are probably pretty good to have around, although, I don't know, they're pretty ugly things, right? Yeah, I think I lost a cat to a possum too, and I loved that cat too. She was a black cat, and her name was Ash, and she was absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely loved this cat. And I heard her scream one night, and I went out, but she was gone. I never saw her since, so I think it was a possum. Might have been a raccoon, though. You don't know, right? But if you're doing flowers and tomatoes, and you really don't want anything to touch them, like the raccoons and that, you've got to keep them upright. Or the tomatoes, you can put a cage on them. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of getting one big pot and doing a tomato. I don't know why I want to do tomatoes. You can get them for, I don't know, a couple of bucks at the grocery store. Probably cost me $40 to grow a tomato plant, but we'll see. Oh. Anyhow, have a great week, everybody. I really appreciate your comments on Tea Time. I try to respond to all of the comments, and remember that the contest is going to be if your name is on my newsletter email list. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great spring. Catch your breath, 60.